You stand in the cereal aisle, maybe at Kroger, maybe at Walmart, and you pick up a box. The front of that box has a sunrise on it, a picture of fresh berries, maybe a little heart icon, and the words "whole grain" in big letters. It feels like a good choice. It feels like you're doing the right thing for your body first thing in the morning. But here's the thing. That box was designed by a marketing team, not a dietitian. And the difference between a breakfast that actually supports your energy, your blood sugar, and your long-term health versus one that just looks healthy on the shelf, that difference can be enormous, and it can cost you real money over time. This video is going to walk you through 9 breakfast foods that have built their entire reputation on looking and sounding healthy. Some of them have been in your kitchen for years. Some of them cost a premium specifically because of health claims on the label. And for each one, we're going to look at what the marketing says, what the nutrition label actually shows, and what a smarter swap might be. Nobody here is going to tell you what to eat. That's between you and your doctor. But you deserve to know when a product is earning your trust with real nutrition and when it's earning your trust with packaging. Let's get into it. Number 1. Flavored instant oatmeal packets. Oatmeal has one of the best reputations of any breakfast food in America, and honestly, plain oats deserve that reputation. They're a solid source of fiber, they can help with cholesterol, and they're cheap. A canister of plain rolled oats at Aldi or Walmart runs you maybe $3 or $4 and lasts for weeks. But that's not what most people grab. What sells is the flavored instant packets. Quaker maple and brown sugar, Quaker apples and cinnamon. Store brand equivalents at Kroger, great value at Walmart, the same idea everywhere. They come in a box, they feel wholesome, and the Quaker name alone carries decades of trust. Flip that packet over. A single serving of Quaker maple and brown sugar instant oatmeal has about 12 grams of added sugar. That's 3 teaspoons of sugar in a tiny packet that most adults would eat 2 of at a time. So now you're at 6 teaspoons of added sugar before you've left the kitchen. The American Heart Association suggests a daily limit of about 6 teaspoons for women and 9 for men. You could be hitting that ceiling at breakfast alone. The oats themselves are fine. The problem is what they've added to make it taste like dessert. And because the word oatmeal is on the box, it gets a free pass in your mind as a health food. A better move is to buy plain oats, rolled or steel cut, and add your own flavor. A little cinnamon, a few blueberries, a drizzle of honey if you want sweetness. You control the sugar, you save money per serving. And you're still getting all the fiber and whole grain benefits that made oatmeal's reputation in the first place. Number 2, yogurt with fruit on the bottom. This one catches a lot of people because yogurt feels like a fundamentally healthy food, and certain types of yogurt are. But the fruit on the bottom cups that line the dairy case at almost every grocery store in America, brands like Dannon Fruit on the bottom or store brand equivalents, these are closer to a flavored dessert than to what most people think they're eating. That fruit layer at the bottom is mostly fruit puree mixed with sugar, and sometimes high fructose corn syrup, depending on the brand. A single container of Dannon Fruit on the bottom strawberry yogurt can have around 21 grams of sugar. Some of that is naturally occurring lactose from the milk, but a significant portion is added sugar. When you stir it up and eat it, you're getting a sweet, smooth experience that tastes good precisely because it's been engineered to taste good. Compare that to a plain Greek yogurt, something like Faig's Total or the Kirkland brand at Costco. You get more protein, often double or more, far less sugar, and a thicker texture that actually keeps you full longer. If you want fruit, you can add real strawberries or a handful of frozen blueberries for a fraction of the sugar. The marketing trick with fruit on the bottom yogurt is the word fruit. It makes you picture an orchard. What you're getting is closer to jam stirred into a dairy cup. Check the ingredient list. If sugar or some variation of it appears in the first 4 or 5 ingredients, that yogurt is working harder to taste sweet than to nourish you. Number 3. Granola. Granola might be the single most successful health marketing story in the American grocery aisle. It looks rustic. It sounds natural. The bags often have craft paper styling, pictures of nuts and honey, words like ancient grains or wholesome clusters. It feels like something a hiker would eat on a mountaintop. Look at the nutrition panel on a bag of bare naked maple pecan granola or Quaker Simply granola with oats, honey, raisins, and almonds. A typical serving size is about 1/3 of a cup. That's a tiny amount, barely enough to cover the bottom of a cereal bowl. And that small serving can pack around 12 to 15 grams of sugar and 230 or more calories. Most people pour 2 or 3 times that amount because 1/3 of a cup looks like nothing. So, in reality, a normal bowl of granola can easily deliver 450 to 700 calories and 30 or more grams of sugar before you add milk. That's in the range of a fast food breakfast sandwich, sometimes higher. Granola is calorie-dense because it's typically made with added oils and sweeteners that help the oats clump into those satisfying clusters. Those clusters are delicious. They're also doing a lot more caloric work than you'd guess from looking at them. If you like granola, treat it as a topping, not a base. Sprinkle a small amount over plain yogurt or a bowl of fresh fruit. That way, you get the crunch and flavor without accidentally eating what amounts to a dessert portion. And always check the serving size on the bag, because granola manufacturers know that a small listed serving keeps the sugar and calorie numbers looking modest on the label. Number 4. Store-bought smoothies and smoothie drinks. Walk into the refrigerated section at Target or Walmart, and you'll see bottles from brands like Naked, Bolthouse Farms, and Odwalla. They've got beautiful pictures of fruit, green vegetables, and labels that say things like no sugar added, boosted, or green machine. The bottles feel premium. They cost $3 to $5 each. And a lot of people grab them thinking they're making a smart, healthy choice, especially as a quick breakfast on the go. Here's what the label often reveals. A single bottle of Naked Green Machine, which is 15 ounces, contains about 53 grams of sugar. That is more sugar than a can of Coca-Cola. Yes, it comes from fruit juice, and yes, fruit sugar is different in some ways from table sugar, but your body still has to process all of it, and when you drink fruit in liquid form, you lose the fiber that would normally slow down sugar absorption if you ate the whole fruit. The no sugar added claim is technically accurate because they didn't pour extra sugar in. But when you juice multiple fruits together and concentrate them into a bottle, the natural sugar content becomes extremely high. And because it's liquid, you consume it fast without the fullness signals you'd get from chewing actual fruit. A better breakfast option is to make your own smoothie at home with whole fruit, a handful of spinach, some plain yogurt or milk, and ice. You keep the fiber, you control the sugar, and you save money. A bag of frozen mixed fruit at Aldi or Walmart costs about $3 and makes several smoothies. One bottle of Naked costs almost the same and gives you one serving. If you're buying these bottled smoothies regularly, you might be spending $15 to $20 a week on what is essentially expensive fruit sugar. This next one is where the label really starts doing the heavy lifting. Number 5. Breakfast cereals marketed as heart-healthy or high-fiber. Cheerios is probably the most famous example. That yellow box has been in American kitchens for decades, and General Mills has marketed it heavily around heart health. The box has carried claims about cholesterol reduction, and the brand has become almost synonymous with a responsible breakfast choice. Plain Original Cheerios, to be fair, is one of the more reasonable options in the cereal aisle. It's relatively low in sugar, about 1 gram per serving, and it does contain whole grain oats. The FDA did push back on some of General Mills' heart health claims years ago, noting that the way the claims were worded made the cereal sound almost like a drug. But the basic product is fairly straightforward. The problem is the halo effect. Because Cheerios has that healthy reputation, people extend that trust to every version of Cheerios on the shelf. Honey Nut Cheerios, which is the best-selling variety, has about 12 grams of sugar per serving. That's 3 times the sugar of many chocolate chip cookies on a per-serving basis. Apple Cinnamon Cheerios, Chocolate Cheerios, Frosted Cheerios, they all ride on the original's health reputation while delivering a very different nutritional profile. The same pattern shows up with other brands. Raisin Bran sounds healthy. Bran is right there in the name. But a serving of Kellogg's Raisin Bran has about 17 to 18 grams of sugar, partly because those raisins are sugar-coated. Special K has marketed itself as a weight management cereal for years, but the original version is mostly refined grains with limited fiber. When you're in the cereal aisle, ignore the front of the box entirely. Turn it around. Look at the sugar per serving, the fiber per serving, and the ingredient list. A good benchmark for a genuinely healthy cereal is at least 3 grams of fiber per serving and no more than 5 or 6 grams of sugar. Products like plain Cheerios, plain shredded wheat with no frosting, or some of the store-brand bran flakes can meet that standard. The ones with fruit pictures and heart icons on the front often can't. Number 6. Turkey bacon. If you've been told to cut back on red meat or saturated fat, there's a good chance someone has suggested turkey bacon. It's in every grocery store, brands like Butterball, Oscar Mayer, and Jenny O, and it's positioned as the lighter, leaner, smarter alternative to regular pork bacon. Turkey bacon does have somewhat fewer calories and less saturated fat per slice than traditional pork bacon. That part is real. But the gap is often smaller than people expect. 2 slices of a typical turkey bacon have about 60 calories and around 1.5 grams of saturated fat. 2 slices of center-cut pork bacon have about 60 to 70 calories and around 2 grams of saturated fat. The difference exists, but it's not dramatic. What people often miss is the sodium. Turkey bacon can be very high in sodium, sometimes comparable to or even exceeding regular bacon. A 2-slice serving might deliver 300 to 400 milligrams of sodium. If you're watching your blood pressure, which a lot of adults over 50 are, that sodium content matters. And then there's what turkey bacon actually is. Look at the ingredients. It's typically made from mechanically separated turkey or turkey thigh meat that's been heavily processed, seasoned, and pressed into strips that look like bacon. It's a processed meat product. The World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer has classified processed meats, including processed poultry products, as a Group 1 carcinogen based on evidence related to colorectal cancer risk. That classification applies to turkey bacon just as it applies to pork bacon. So if you switch to turkey bacon thinking you were making a major health upgrade, the reality is more modest. You're still eating a processed, high-sodium breakfast meat. If you enjoy it and eat it occasionally, that's your call. But buying it every week as a health food and paying more per package than regular bacon in many stores, that's a decision worth reconsidering. A couple of eggs cooked in a little olive oil or even a small portion of avocado on whole grain toast gives you protein and healthy fats without the processed meat question. If you're finding this helpful, do me a quick favor. Drop a comment and tell me which of these breakfast foods has been in your kitchen the longest. I'm genuinely curious. It helps the channel, and I'll keep making these videos as long as you keep watching them. Now let's keep going, because the next few might surprise you. Number 7. Flavored plant-based milk and creamers marketed as clean or natural. The plant milk section has exploded in the last few years. Oat milk, almond milk, coconut milk, cashew milk, they're everywhere, and many people have switched to them for health reasons, lactose intolerance, or just because the packaging makes them feel like a better choice. Brands like Oatly, Silk, Califia Farms, and Planet Oat dominate the shelf. Plain, unsweetened versions of these milks can be perfectly fine. Unsweetened almond milk, for example, is very low in calories and works well for people who can't do dairy. No issue there. The concern is with the flavored and sweetened versions, which is what most people actually buy. Oatly's original oat milk, not even the flavored kind, just the original blue carton, has about 7 grams of added sugar per cup. Their chocolate version has around 16 grams. Silk's vanilla almond milk has about 13 grams of sugar per cup. If you're pouring this over cereal, into coffee, or drinking a glass with breakfast, that sugar adds up quickly, and it adds up invisibly because you're thinking of it as milk, not as a sweetened beverage. There's also the question of what you're actually getting nutritionally. Regular dairy milk naturally contains protein, calcium, and several vitamins. Many plant milks are quite low in protein, sometimes only 1 gram per cup for almond milk, and their calcium and vitamin content comes from fortification, meaning it's added during manufacturing. That's not necessarily bad, but it means the nutrition you see on the label is engineered, not inherent. The word natural on these cartons doesn't have a strict FDA definition for most products, and terms like clean or simple ingredients are pure marketing language. If you prefer plant milk, buy the unsweetened versions. Compare the protein content to what you need. And don't assume that a plant-based label automatically means healthier. It means different. Sometimes that difference works in your favor, sometimes it doesn't, and the only way to know is to read the panel on the back, not the claims on the front. Number 8. Protein bars and breakfast bars. This category has grown enormously, and it sits right at the intersection of convenience and health marketing. Brands like Kind, Nature Valley, Cliff, RX Bar, and Think Thin fill entire sections of the grocery aisle, and many people eat them as a quick breakfast or a morning meal replacement. Some of these bars are genuinely decent options, and we'll get to the better ones in a moment. But many of the most popular breakfast bars are essentially candy bars with better branding. Take a Nature Valley Crunchy Oats and Honey Bar. It has about 12 grams of sugar and is made primarily with oats, sugar, and canola oil. A Cliff Bar, which is marketed toward active people, has around 17 to 21 grams of sugar depending on the flavor. That's roughly the same sugar content as a Snickers bar. The Cliff Bar has more protein, which is a genuine difference. But if you're not about to go on a long hike or bike ride, that sugar load at breakfast is doing you no favors. Kind bars have done something clever with their branding. They emphasize nuts and whole ingredients, and the bars often look wholesome, with visible almonds and seeds. But some flavors, like the dark chocolate nuts and sea salt, still have about 5 grams of added sugar, and the calorie count can reach over 200. That's not terrible, but it's also not the light, healthy snack the packaging implies. The real issue is portion expectation. A single bar rarely keeps anyone full for more than an hour or two. So people eat the bar and then eat something else by mid-morning, which means the bar didn't replace breakfast, it just added to it. If you want a bar for genuine convenience, look for ones with at least 10 grams of protein, no more than 5 or 6 grams of added sugar, and some fiber. RX Bar is one of the cleaner options, with a short ingredient list and no added sugar in most flavors, though the texture isn't for everyone. Some Kirkland Signature protein bars at Costco also score well on protein-to-sugar ratio at a much lower price per bar. But honestly, 2 hard-boiled eggs that you prepped the night before will give you more protein, 0 sugar, and cost you less than any bar on the shelf. The bar is paying for convenience and packaging. Know that when you buy it. Number 9. Multigrain and wheat bread labeled as healthy or wholesome. This is one of the quietest tricks in the bread aisle, and it's been going on for years. You see a loaf of bread that says multigrain, or made with whole wheat, or honey wheat, or 12 grain on the front. The packaging is usually brown or tan because we associate darker colors with healthier, more natural food. There might be a picture of a wheat field. The word wholesome might appear. Everything about the presentation says this is a smart choice. But multigrain just means more than one type of grain was used. It doesn't mean any of those grains are whole grains. Made with whole wheat means some whole wheat was included, but the primary flour could still be refined enriched wheat flour, which is essentially white flour with some nutrients added back in. Honey wheat often means white flour with a touch of honey and some caramel coloring to make it look darker and more rustic. The bread that actually delivers on the health promise will say 100% whole wheat or 100% whole grain as the first ingredient on the list, not enriched wheat flour, not unbleached enriched flour. The word whole needs to be there, and it needs to be first. Sara Lee, Nature's Own, and Pepperidge Farm all make breads that range from genuinely whole grain to mostly refined flour with healthy-sounding names. You cannot tell the difference from the front of the package. You have to flip it over and read the ingredient list. A good whole grain bread will also have at least 2 to 3 grams of fiber per slice. If a bread calls itself multigrain or wheat and has less than 1 gram of fiber per slice, it's basically white bread in a brown wrapper. Dave's Killer Bread, specifically the 21 whole grains and seeds variety, is one of the more transparent options on the market. The ingredients are readable, the fiber content is solid, and whole grains are genuinely the base of the product. It costs more, usually around $5 to $6 a loaf, but you're getting what the label promises. Aldi's Simply Nature brand also offers some whole grain breads at a lower price point that hold up well on the ingredient list. Now, let's talk about what actually makes a good breakfast, because this video isn't just about what to avoid. It's about helping you build a morning meal that works for your body and your budget. Here are some straightforward choices that don't rely on marketing to earn their place on your table. Eggs. Plain, simple eggs. They're one of the most nutrient-dense foods you can buy. A large egg has about 6 grams of protein, healthy fats, choline, and a range of vitamins. A dozen eggs at Walmart or Aldi, even with recent price increases, still costs less per serving than almost any packaged breakfast product. Scrambled, hard-boiled, fried in a little butter or olive oil, they're versatile, and they keep you full. Plain oats, the kind you cook yourself. We talked about this earlier. A canister of old-fashioned rolled oats is one of the best values in the grocery store. Add your own cinnamon, a few walnuts, and some fresh or frozen berries. You get fiber, whole grains, and antioxidants without the 12 grams of added sugar that comes in the flavored packets. Plain Greek yogurt with real fruit. Fudge, Chobani Plain, the Kirkland brand at Costco, or store-brand plain Greek yogurt all work. You're getting protein, probiotics, and calcium. Add your own berries, a small drizzle of honey, or a sprinkle of ground flaxseed. You control every ingredient. Whole grain toast with avocado or nut butter. If you buy a real 100% whole grain bread, as we just discussed, and top it with half an avocado or a tablespoon of natural peanut butter, you've got fiber, healthy fats, and staying power. Check the peanut butter label too. The ingredient list should be peanuts and maybe salt. If it lists hydrogenated oils or added sugar, pick a different jar. Bananas, apples, and berries. Whole fruit is almost always a better choice than fruit juice, fruit-flavored yogurt, or fruit on the bottom anything. You get the fiber, the vitamins, and the natural sweetness without the concentrated sugar load. A banana costs about 25 cents. It's one of the cheapest and most portable breakfast foods in the store. Cottage cheese. This one has been making a quiet comeback, and for good reason. A half cup of cottage cheese has about 14 grams of protein and is relatively low in sugar, especially the plain or low-sodium varieties. Brands like Good Culture or Daisy offer cleaner ingredient lists. It pairs well with fruit, tomatoes, or even a little black pepper and everything bagel seasoning. Now let me leave you with a quick label reading guide you can use every time you're in the breakfast aisle. This takes about 15 seconds per product once you get used to it, and it will save you from falling for packaging tricks over and over again. First, ignore the front of the package. Everything on the front is marketing. The words natural, wholesome, real fruit, lightly sweetened, good source of, and even whole grain on the front of a package are designed to make you feel good, not to give you accurate information. The real information is on the back and the side. Second, go straight to the ingredient list. Ingredients are listed in order of quantity. Whatever is listed first is what the product is mostly made of. If sugar, corn syrup, honey, or any sweetener appears in the first 3 to 4 ingredients, that product is a sweetened product, regardless of what the front says. Third, check the added sugars line on the nutrition panel. The FDA now requires added sugars to be listed separately from total sugars. This is one of the most useful things on the label. Aim for breakfast items with no more than 5 or 6 grams of added sugar per serving. Anything above 10 grams per serving, and you're eating something closer to a treat than a health food. Fourth, look at the serving size and ask yourself if that's what you'd actually eat. Granola with a 1/3 cup serving, cereal with a 3/4 cup serving, bars listed as 2 servings per package. These are common ways that sugar and calorie counts look smaller than what you'll actually consume. Mentally double the numbers if you know you'd eat a real-sized portion. Fifth, check protein and fiber. These are the 2 things that actually help you feel full and maintain steady energy through the morning. A good breakfast item should contribute at least 5 grams of protein or 3 grams of fiber, ideally both. If a product is high in sugar and low in both protein and fiber, it's going to spike your blood sugar and leave you hungry an hour later. Sixth, watch for long ingredient lists full of things you don't recognize. This isn't about being afraid of every chemical name, but if a product that's supposed to be simple oatmeal or yogurt or bread has 15 or 20 ingredients including multiple sweeteners, preservatives, and artificial flavors, ask yourself why. Simpler products with shorter ingredient lists tend to be closer to real food. And seventh, compare price per ounce or price per serving, not just the sticker price. That box of fancy granola might cost $4 and look like a deal, but if it only gives you 5 small servings, you're paying 80 cents a serving for oats and sugar. A canister of plain oats at half the price might give you 30 servings. The math matters, especially over weeks and months. Here's the bottom line. Breakfast is the meal where marketing works the hardest because people are rushed, they're making quick decisions, and they want to feel like they're starting the day right. Food companies know this. That's why the breakfast aisle is packed with products that look healthy, sound healthy, and cost a premium for that perception. You don't need expensive products to eat well in the morning. You need plain ingredients, a few minutes of prep, and the habit of reading labels instead of trusting packaging. The best breakfast foods are usually the ones that don't need to convince you they're healthy because the ingredient list speaks for itself. Take this list with you next time you shop. Check the labels on what's already in your pantry. And if something you've been buying for years turns out to be more sugar and marketing than you realized, don't feel bad about it. That's exactly what the packaging was designed to do. Now you know better, and knowing better is the whole point. I'll see you in the next one.